T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
It takes a shit scene.
T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
It takes a shit scene.
T9C got the fucking juice.
Silver's the new gold.
It takes a shit scene.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of JT Sports Live, and what a week of college football that we've had, man. Week 4 has been absolutely insane. Colorado has a dramatic comeback against Baylor. They get a 40-something yard Hail Mary. Then you get Travis Hunter, who ends up forcing the game-sealing fumble. What about Tennessee, Oklahoma? I'm looking for all of the Vols fans out there who told me that they were going to throw 40 on Brent Venables' defense. What happened tonight? Because that offense ain't look too hot. Nico Iamaleava, as much as I love him, he ain't look too good. I'm just saying, like, you were a 7-point favorite, you won by 10, but it wasn't as dominant as a victory as what a lot of people thought. And I really believe Tennessee got kind of humbled tonight. You feel me? From what I saw, I don't see a team that can beat Georgia or Alabama, but we're going to discuss the Tennessee-Oklahoma game more in depth on tonight's show. We also have to talk about Michigan running all over USC. I've been watching college football, I'll say about 13 years, and I've never ever seen a team have a 2-minute game-winning drive where they only ran the football. They only threw 12 times against USC. That's unheard of. Florida State finally got a win. And Clemson football, they just might be back. We might have rolled them off too quickly. And Florida's defense, man, they're awful. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Shout out to Unruly TV. Shout out to everybody that's watching on X, YouTube, wherever you're at. Do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon right next to the subscribe button so you can get alerted when we drop new content and when we go live. Listen to the podcast. We are not just a YouTube channel. You can find this episode and all of our previous ones on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. Follow us on Instagram at JT Sports _ and on X at JT Sports __. Submit your NFL and college football questions in the DMs as well with some topic suggestions that you have. Let's get into it. Once I get my thoughts out of the way, I'm going to open up the phone lines because I know there's a lot of Tennessee fans that probably got a lot that they want to say. Let's start off with the game of the night. Colorado gets a dramatic win in comeback fashion, 38-31 against Baylor. And Colorado played another outstanding game, in my opinion. It wasn't perfect, but the defense got big stops when it mattered. And the two best players on the team, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, showed why they're two of the best players in college football. Shedeur Sanders throws a 40-something yard Hail Mary to LaJohntay Western to send the game to overtime. And then he puts them on the board. They go up 38-31 at OT. And then Travis Hunter forces the game-winning fumble. And we get 2 field stormings by the Colorado fan base. This was one of the greatest college football games that I've watched in a very long time. Because the way this game started out, Colorado was down a couple of scores at one point. And I find myself asking, okay, is this just going to be a super bad season for Colorado? Are they going to be as bad as what they were last year? They gave up 10 points due to special teams. One guy took back a kick return. He also had a really nice punt return. And Baylor's quarterback was doing a lot of damage on the ground against Colorado's run defense. But in the fourth quarter, Colorado really locked in. They were able to get the ball to their outstanding wide receivers. Travis Hunter started taking over this game. And this was the first time that I watched Colorado play against another team in the Power 4, and they actually looked like they belonged on the field. It wasn't a one-sided affair when the offensive line was getting pushed back. The O-line did a pretty good job at protecting Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, they didn't have a great night on the ground, but at least they were able to run the football when they needed to at times. And their defense, you know, you got to give this unit a lot of credit for how they were able to step up, get Baylor off the field, to get the ball back to Shedeur Sanders for one last drive. And you know what Deion Sanders always says? As long as Shedeur has the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game, he's always going to come through. And tonight, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter showed why they not only are the two best players in college football and they should be the two front runners for the Heisman Trophy, but they should be the first and second picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. These two guys absolutely took over this game and they won it for Colorado. And that's why the Buffs have a great chance to end up winning the Big 12 Conference this year. This conference is not that good. When you got two of the best players in college football, there's not a single game that you don't have a shot at being able to win, as long as you can make sure that Shedeur Sanders can stay upright and the defense plays the well that they did. The defense plays as well as what they did tonight. Simon Craig, number 7 at safety for Colorado, he was flying all over the field. Like, Colorado is a really good team. And yeah, this was a close win for them, but a lot of these games are going to come down to the wire. But with how talented Shedeur and Travis Hunter are, there's no reason why Colorado shouldn't be able to find themselves playing in the Big 12 championship come December. And for Baylor, you know, Dave Aranda, his hot seat is scorching right now. We talk about Billy Napier's job security, but right now, Dave Aranda probably could get fired at any moment. You had this game right in the palm of your hands, and you just completely blew it. And this just was a nightmare scenario for Baylor, because at one point, if you're a Bears fan, you felt really confident about Baylor being able to seal this win. But when you play against a team like Colorado and you allow them to hang around, they're going to beat you because of how much of a star Shedeur and Travis Hunter are together. And Colorado has a really good offense when they can protect two. They got one of the best receiving corps in all of college football. You saw LaJohntay Western catch that Hail Mary, but you also saw Jimmy Horn Jr. make a couple of big plays. You saw Will Sheppard have a couple of nice catches. And hell, before the Hail Mary, Will Sheppard had a chance to tie this game up, but he dropped it. This is a really talented team, and Colorado is better than what a lot of people give them credit for. Nebraska, if they were playing in the Big 12 right now, they probably will be the second best team in this conference right behind Utah. But Colorado, when they're going up against a team that isn't able to get consistent pressure on Shedeur, more times than not, they're going to be able to hang around. This was the same team that was in a handful of one-possession games last season. This team just isn't no pushover. This is a really quality squad that Coach Prime has down there in Boulder. And I was really critical of Deion Sanders coaching for the first 2 weeks of this season, but this team has gotten better over these last couple of weeks. The offensive line is starting to do a better job at gelling with each other. You see chemistry now starting to get better built with the more snaps that these guys play together. And this is a team that is slightly improving week after week. And I'm excited to see what they do over these next couple of weeks in the Big 12 with how good Shedeur and Travis Hunter have been playing these last couple of weeks. Now, I want to talk about what a lot of you folks are here for, man. Tennessee beats Oklahoma 25-15 in Norman. Look, although Oklahoma lost this game, they put up a hell of a fight because there were a lot of Vols fans all week that were saying that this game was going to be a blowout. They were going to hang 40 on the Sooners defense, and Tennessee only scored 25 points despite Jackson Arnold giving you 3 assists. I'm going to be honest. When I was watching this game at first, I thought that Vegas had put the call in and they talked to Jackson Arnold before the game and they said, hey, man, like, we got $2 million for you up front if you help Tennessee win this game. And he definitely did all he could to help them win it. He gave them 3 easy turnovers, man. Jackson Arnold played like absolute dog water in this game, man. This dude was the Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of high school. He was awful. And as good as what Tennessee's defense is, be honest, Tennessee's defense was 70% of the reason for Oklahoma's offensive struggles. 30% of the reason for why the Sooners weren't able to get much going offensively was because they were beating themselves. Like, how do you force a fumble? You get into the red zone, easy scoring range, and you give it right back to them, man. Like, this was a really bad display of offense that we saw from the Sooners tonight. And Tennessee does have a really good defense. I'm not going to make it seem like their defense was not there doing their thing, because Oklahoma's offensive line, oh my goodness, in the first half, they could not block a soul on Tennessee's defense. But you also can't say that Oklahoma's defense wasn't getting right on Tennessee's offense. This is probably the worst display of offense that we've seen out of Tennessee up to this point. Like, Brent Venables, he was really aggressive when it came to making life difficult for Nico Imaviava. And outside of the big 67-yard touchdown that they got to end the first quarter to Deontay Thornton, it was tough sledding for the Vols offensively in this game. This was a great game that Oklahoma's defense played. And if Jackson Arnold wasn't giving Tennessee early Christmas presents, they possibly could have won this game, man. And moving forward, we all know who the starting quarterback for Oklahoma should be for the rest of this season. Without a doubt, it's Michael Hawkins. And thank you, God, for Michael Hawkins, man. Because if it wasn't for having this dude who's a true freshman, Oklahoma season, you probably would just need to go ahead and wrap it up and just give up at any hope of having a 8-9 win season, man. Because Jackson Arnold was just flat out awful. And Michael Hawkins, he didn't have the greatest game neither. It's really difficult to ask a true freshman who probably didn't get a lot of reps with the first team leading up to this game to come out here and go up against one of the better defenses in college football. Like, Tennessee has a stout defense. And for Michael Hawkins to play as good as what he did, you know, once he started to get settled in, he showed enough that he needs to be QB1 moving forward for the Sooners. But Oklahoma had a lot of bodies dropping on the field. They had guys getting injured left and right. Like, the injury guards just have been really hard on Oklahoma. Like, I don't even know how much of their team is still 100%. But Tennessee, you know, they got the win. I picked Oklahoma to beat them, so I'll go ahead and eat it. But let's not act like I wasn't right when I said that this was going to be a pretty competitive game. And regardless of what the final score was, you kind of had a feeling that Tennessee was going to win this thing when you saw how bad the quarterback play was for Oklahoma. But this was a really close game. Tennessee's offense didn't really do much because of how well Oklahoma played defensively. Like, Oklahoma was looking like the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens on defense in this game. I mean, they were flying around. They were harassing Nico. Like, this was not a good performance out of Tennessee's offense. And just be honest about it if you're a Vols fan, because I've seen you guys on these 247 message boards. I've seen you on the Bleach Report app, you know, nagging about how conservative the offense was, complaining about how the offense was about to sell the game. You were a little bit nervous in the fourth quarter when Michael Hawkins started to get things going on offense. Just be honest about it. If I can be honest and admit that I was wrong about Tennessee losing this game, you can be honest and say that Oklahoma's defense was much better than what you expected. Don't try to make it seem like Oklahoma's defense was not out there doing their thing, man. They were balling. They were keeping this a competitive game despite all the turnovers that the offense kept giving up. For you to have 3-4 turnovers in this game and you only get held to field goals on the majority of them, it shows a lot about how good Oklahoma is on the defensive side of the football. And moving forward for Tennessee, I still am very high on you. But I don't believe that you're as good as what you thought you were coming into this game when you were blowing out Chattanooga, Kent State, and NC State. We saw NC State get blown out by Clemson. It was like 42-7 at halftime, I think the score was. So this was the best team that you played up until this point. And be honest with yourself. Tennessee, with how they looked against Oklahoma tonight, this doesn't look like a team that's good enough to beat Alabama or to beat Georgia. Like, Oklahoma defensively was really good in this game. I was really impressed. I was, because if they just had a lick of good quarterback play out of Jackson Arnold, this is a way different ball game, man. Like, the stupid screen that he threw just absolutely blew me. At that point, you had to pull the brother out the game. You just had to, because what the hell are you out there doing? Are you trying to let Tennessee hang 40 on you? You see, like, I believe that Jackson Arnold wanted Tennessee to drop 40. And he tried to do everything in his power to do so, but Oklahoma's defense was just on a different level. Tennessee's defense played exceptionally well. And I still believe this is going to be a 10-2 team. I think your only losses are going to come to Georgia and Alabama. And you got a good chance to beat Georgia this year, because Georgia's banged up on the offensive line. They're not as deep as what they normally are on the line of scrimmage on both sides. But Tennessee right now, they probably are the third best team in the SEC. I'm not going to say that they're better than Bama or they're better than Georgia until you go on the field and you prove it. Because tonight offensively, you didn't look like the dominant offense that we've seen when you were hanging 60 on Kent State and everybody else. You know, this was a pretty tough game to watch out of Tennessee offensively. Yeah, they did enough to get the win, but when you get the amount of turnovers that they did, you expect to capitalize off them and turn them into touchdowns. And I see a lot of you Tennessee fans in the comment section saying, how did they get humbled? You're not the team that you thought you were. Coming into this game, you talking about how you was about to drop 40 and 50 on Oklahoma. It was about to be a blowout. After the first quarter, the home crowd was going to be quiet. Like, the way Tennessee fans were talking leading up to this game, you would have thought that they were the best team in college football, and I ain't see it. You know, you still, to me, look like a 10-2 team that's going to end up being the 10th, 9th, maybe 11th seed in the college football playoffs. You are going to be a playoff team because you are one of the most complete teams in college football. But Oklahoma gave you a slice of humble pie tonight with how good they were defensively. They showed that your offense isn't as explosive as what you thought it was when you were hanging 60 on these FCS and these lower rated schools in the FBS. You know, because a lot of y'all were talking about how y'all were going to put 40 and 50 on Oklahoma's defense, and that didn't happen. So you got kind of humble because you're not as good as what you thought. You're not good enough right now to look like you can beat Georgia or Alabama. You still have a lot to prove. Your next two games, you should win pretty easily. You play Arkansas, then you get to play Sunbelt Billy, and you should hang 40 and 50 on those schools because neither one of them have remotely good defenses as to what you saw tonight. Oklahoma showed that even though their offense is probably going to be inept for the rest of this season, their defense is going to keep them in a handful of games. So Tennessee, I'll eat it. I was wrong. You know, I thought Oklahoma was going to win this game with them having a home field advantage, but Tennessee won this game. You know, I still am pretty high on them. I had them going 10-2 before the season started. But, you know, you got kind of humbled tonight because you weren't as dominant as what you thought you were going to be. And you only put 25 points up despite all the turnovers that you were able to generate. And you weren't really able to maximize those possessions. Like, Oklahoma either held you to field goals or you had to punt. Shout out to my guy, the Rhino26. With the $50 super chat, man. Greatly appreciate you and every time you donate and support the channel, man. Let's read some of these comments, man. My guy Jeremy Griffith says, wait, how did Oklahoma humble Tennessee? Man, you know how you got humbled tonight. Did you drop 40 and 50 like how y'all claim y'all were going to? No. Did we see the same display of offense tonight that we saw against Chattanooga and Kent State and NC State? No. You got held to 25 points. And with all the turnovers that you got, you should have been able to put up 40. Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold made it pretty easy for you to do so. You got humble. You're not the team that you thought you were coming into this game. Y'all were talking a lot of talk. Like, this was just going to be an easy win. You were just going to skate by. Like, this was a pretty good game. You know, for as bad as what OU's offense was, their defense bailed them out in a lot of situations. And Nico looked human. He only threw 1 touchdown. So it wasn't really the best display of offense that we've seen out of Tennessee based off how well they played the first 3 weeks leading up to this game. So Tired says, not even trolling. I want to give you this engagement because I want you to blow up, but you got to take the emos out, man. You got humble. Y'all said y'all was going to put 40 and 50 on Oklahoma. Am I right or am I wrong? Because I can pull up the comments right now and we can read all of them one by one. How it's going to be a blowout game. How this was the best Tennessee squad in 2 decades. Like, I ain't really see none of that. I didn't. This Oklahoma defense showed up. And their defense was as good as what your defense was. And you also got 2 injuries on the offensive line. For as much as we were talking about Oklahoma's offensive line injuries, you're down 2 starters at offensive tackle. And Oklahoma exposed that. So yeah, you did get kind of humbled tonight. This wasn't an easy win. And it wasn't a flawless offensive performance. This is the worst display of offense that you've had relative to what you've done the first 3 weeks. So yeah, you got humbled. And you can say that it's engagement bait or it's clickbait all you want to, but you got humbled. You thought that you were going to come into Norman, you were going to walk in, take over their trap, and you were going to send the fans home packing after halftime. And it wasn't an easy win. You know, your offense struggled. Nico Maviava had 2 strip sack fumbles. It's just that Oklahoma offensively, they were so inept, and Jackson Arnold was so bad that luckily enough of how great your defense was and how bad the offense was out of Oklahoma, they couldn't do anything. Now let's move on. Michigan took USC to Pound Town tonight. 27-24, Michigan wins. And USC, they look like the Powder Puff Girls out there, man, because I've been watching college football for 13, 14 years, and I've never seen the team allow somebody like Michigan to engineer a game-winning 2-minute drive by only running the football. Michigan is psycho. To be this committed to the ground game where you run 46 times and only throw 12 passes in today's age of college football, when you got all these spread offenses, all these air raid centric offenses, you know, you showed everybody why you are one of the better teams in college football this year. You're not as good as what you were last year, but we saw vintage Michigan football this afternoon. They had 290 rushing yards, and even though in the second half, USC made some adjustments and they were able to get back into this game, you know, you just absolutely knocked their teeth out the final drive you had the ball on offense, because that was demoralizing to watch. Nothing is more demoralizing than knowing what the opposing team is about to do and you can't do anything to stop it. Like in the first half, every time Michigan was spamming the run, they had a lot of success with it. You had Donovan Edwards and the other running back who were breaking off these big, long runs for touchdowns. And I was looking at this game expecting more out of the analyst defense. And now I got more questions about USC than I have answers about them moving forward, because if you're allowing Michigan to run the football 46 times for 290 yards right down your throat and take your lunch money, how are you going to do when you got to play Penn State or when you got to play Nebraska? Like USC, they beat LSU, which was an impressive win, even though LSU is heavily overrated. But Michigan really bullied them up front today. They took their lunch money. They were pushing them around. Like, don't get me started on this dude, number 0 for Michigan. He was out there looking like Lawrence Taylor on defense. And he was so dominant that USC had to bench their starting left tackle, and they had to make some changes on the O-line at halftime. Like, Lincoln Riley, his teams are just too soft to be able to win this conference. You know, you're not playing in the powder puff Pac-12 anymore. You're playing in the grown man Big Ten. And USC is just too young right now on the line of scrimmage to be able to even be a playoff team this year. They probably going to have 3, maybe 4 losses this year. And I love USC. I don't think that they're going to be awful. But with how Michigan just took you to Pound Town, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about USC on the line of scrimmage moving forward, because any given Saturday, you could go up against a team that may not be as talented as Michigan, like a Minnesota, and they could run the football down your throat, because that's what this conference is built off. It's based off physicality. And Lincoln Riley was playing things way too conservative for me. Like the final drive that USC had the ball, you know, he's throwing screens, like he's trying to throw like these little toss passes that are like 3 yards down the field. Like, you're not moving the football, running those kinds of plays against a defense like Michigan. You know, and USC was scared to push the football downfield. You didn't see a lot of big plays in the vertical passing game because Lincoln Riley knew that his offensive line wasn't going to be able to hold up against the likes of Mason Graham. And then you threw an interception that resulted in a pick 6 to Will Johnson. You got to do better than that. You should know when you see Will Johnson, you throw to the opposite side of the field. You cannot throw to Will Johnson's way because he's going to make you pay every single time. Like USC today, they were playing Pac-12 football, and it got punched in the mouth because when you play in the Big Ten, you got to be physical. You got to be able to hold your own up front. And Michigan just completely smashed you. They just were throwing right hook after right hook. Now, you came back with a few counter punches. You know, you came back with a few body blows after halftime. At one point, Michigan only had 9 yards of offense, and USC had 200 and something on offense in the second half. But when it mattered the most, Michigan went to the well. And what was that? Running the football down your mother effing throat. We're going to run it until you prove that you can't stop it. And that's exactly what they did. And I've never seen a team so committed to the run to the point where they don't need to throw the football to move the ball downfield with 2 minutes left and they got to win the game and they need a touchdown to do so. They're just going to run it. I've never seen something like this ever happen in all my years watching football. Like, y'all let me know if y'all ever seen somebody like Michigan just engineer 2-minute drives with no passing. Like, this was absolutely insanity. Absolutely insanity. And for as good as what Dan Lynn is as a defensive coordinator, you know, like, you shouldn't allow something like that to happen. You had missed tackles. It was the missed tackle by number 7 who ended up allowing one of Michigan's running backs to put them in range to end up running out the rest of the clock pretty much and sealing the game, because even though you had a little bit of time left, we knew USC wasn't going to be able to get in the field goal range because then you were playing right into the hands of Michigan's strengths, which is their ability to get after the quarterback, dominate you up front, and that's exactly what USC did. You know, they played to the strengths of Michigan. You see, if you want to beat a team like Michigan, you got to be able to have dudes up front who can protect your quarterback and open up holes in the run game. And although you had more success running the football in the second half, like, it still wasn't to the level that Michigan was able to. This team is just a different breed when it comes to running the football. Their commitment to the run game is nothing but admirable. I got nothing but respect for the way that Michigan left it all on the field. And USC played a pretty hard-fought game, but I can't respect the play calling from Lincoln Riley. It was very vanilla, very conservative. He was calling plays like he was trying not to lose instead of trying to win. You got to be aggressive, man. You got to take more chances, and you just can't be trying to dink and dump your way down the field and think that's going to cut it in the Big Ten when you're playing on the road against a behemoth like Michigan. This ain't the Pac-12, buddy. This is the Big Ten grown man football. Shout out to Johnny Prince. He says Tennessee was missing 3 O-line starters or they would have hung 50. You can talk trash all you want. I mean, if you're going to use Tennessee missing 3 offensive line starters for why your offense didn't look as dominant as what it's been in the first 3 weeks, then you can say the same thing about Oklahoma. You watched the game. You saw all the bodies that Oklahoma had dropping. They were down 2 of their best receivers. They were down a couple of offensive linemen leading up to this game, but you don't want to give them credit for their injuries, though. Come on now. Let's not try to be one-sided and use injuries as an excuse for why your offense only hung 25 if you're not going to have that same energy for Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't even been a fully healthy team. They had guys coming out of fall camp who were banged up. Come on now. I don't want to hear nothing about no injuries, man. If Oklahoma was at full health, this is probably a closer game. But who knows? Because they didn't have no good quarterback. Until they ended up benching Jackson Arnold and they put Hawkins. Hawkins was doing this thing out there, but it was one of those situations where it was too little, too late. But Tennessee's a really good team. Like, y'all acting like I hate Tennessee. You feel me? I don't hate Tennessee. Like, if y'all go watch my SEC record predictions, I had y'all going 10-2 this year, making it into the college football playoffs. So don't make it seem like I'm a Tennessee hater. You feel me? I've showed y'all a lot of love on this platform, so I'm not one-sided. All I was saying, and I even said it in the video, go back and watch, like, y'all making it seem like I'm such a hater of Tennessee. I even said that I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee won this game. All I was saying is that you weren't going to walk into Norman and just kick Oklahoma's ass like you were Alabama and they were Murray State. You feel me? And the game kind of played out that way, even though after the first quarter, with how bad Jackson Arnold was, I knew Tennessee was going to win this game. That's why I wasn't really going back and forth with y'all in the comment section anymore. I knew that with how bad the offense was, it was kind of game over. And I really thought that I was going to have to come on here and eat my words, and y'all end up putting 40 on them because eventually I thought Oklahoma's defense was going to get tired. But regardless of how many turnovers the offense had and how rough things were for OU offensively, their defense hung in there. You feel me? But you Vols fans need to calm down, man. Like, y'all need to stop making it seem like I hate y'all. I got y'all going 10-2, making it to the college football playoffs. So just chill out. You feel me? Like, Oklahoma showed tonight why they're going to have one of the better defenses in college football this year. I'm just saying, like, y'all didn't dominate like how y'all thought y'all were coming into this game. And I know that the whole entire fan base wasn't saying that this was going to be a blowout, but a good majority of y'all did. Based off the comments that I saw in that video. I'm just saying, y'all a good team, but y'all still got a lot to prove. But this was a big win for Tennessee tonight. I'm not taking anything away. I admit I was wrong. I thought Oklahoma was going to win. What more do you want me to say? I can't say that you dominated Oklahoma because you didn't. Your defense played well, but Oklahoma's defense played well. Like, why can't y'all Tennessee fans admit that Oklahoma's defense played well? Why we got to make excuses? I'm just saying, like, I'm a Miami Hurricane fan, so I can relate to y'all pain, and I love Tennessee. You feel me? What really has made me a fan of college football was watching Auburn and Tennessee as a little boy. I remember the prayer in Jordan Hare, the kick six. I remember when y'all played Florida and you had the Hail Mary, the Tyree Cleveland. I remember those days when you had Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. That's probably one of my favorite college football players of all time. Like, don't make it seem like I'm a hater of Tennessee, because I got a lot of videos showing y'all a lot of love this year. You feel me? And in years past. So don't try to call me a Tennessee hater. Like, I loved Hendon Hooker. I was upset when South Carolina ruined your playoff hopes and ruined Hendon Hooker's chances of being a first-round pick. Go back and watch my content. Like, I am far from a Tennessee hater. All I was saying is that y'all weren't going to walk into Oklahoma's turf and just blow them out. And that's what happened tonight. It was a pretty competitive game. Like, outside of that big play that Nico hit Deontay Thorin with, you didn't really do too much offensively. I'm just saying. I like Tennessee. I got y'all going 10-2, but don't try to make it seem like I'm a hater. You feel me? All because I said that y'all weren't going to blow out Oklahoma. That's all I said. Y'all weren't going to put 40 on Oklahoma. That's all I said. Y'all making it seem like I said that. Y'all were going to be like 0-12 or something like that. Like, some of y'all need to chill out. It's okay to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications and give the podcast a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. Because listen, man, like, as riled up as I get about this and as emotional as I get about this, it doesn't come out of hatred. Like, I enjoy talking trash to some of you fans out there. I enjoy when y'all talk trash about my favorite teams. Like, everybody knows I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. Everybody knows I'm a huge supporter of Deion Sanders in Colorado. But at the same time, like, I'm going to keep it a buck with you when I feel in my honest heart that, you know, some of y'all may be wrong about a few things. And I got no problem coming on here like how I just did and admitting that I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought that Oklahoma was going to win. I was wrong because I thought that USC was going to beat Michigan. I thought that USC was going to just absolutely hand it to Michigan. I was wrong. Like, if you subscribe to this channel, just know that I'm not somebody that comes on here and just slanders fan bases and makes fun of people. You feel me? Like, this is all rude and fun. I'm just really passionate about this because I really love the game of football. And I love college football. And let's be honest, like, this was an incredible weekend of action that we watched. You know, like, this year of college football so far has been absolute madness. Like, Notre Dame was in a dogfight with Miami of Ohio. I just love college football, and I'm just a really big fan. So it's like, if I come on here and I'm going at your team, like, it's just rooted in fun. You feel me? I'm really passionate about this. Everybody always comments like, why you always yelling? Like, turn down your volume. Like, how about you turn down your volume? Like, if you don't appreciate that I'm passionate and I truly love the game of college football, then why are you subscribed? There's plenty of other people out here that cover college football, that talk about it, that don't truly enjoy the game. Some people who talk about college football act like they despise it, act like they don't have no love for it. I live, eat, and breathe football. You feel me? Like, after this game, I'm going to be up watching the rest of this BYU and Kansas State game and watching this Hawaii game, whoever they play. Like, can you tell me that you're really up to 2 a.m. and 3 o'clock in the morning watching college football? Like, I love college football, and why I love it so much is because of the fan bases. You know, like, y'all is what makes college football so great. The interactions that I've had with Tennessee fans this week, I never have really with NFL fans. Like, NFL fans aren't really as, like, riled up as what college football fans are. That's why I love college football. Like, Tennessee Vols fans kind of are better than Tennessee Titans fans. But hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Shout out to Pays and Plays podcast. Shout out to M Sparks. Shout out to Stillers. Seption Con. Shout out to So Tired. Shout out to Quentin Singers. He says JT Sports Inspire. Now, let's continue on. Florida State, ladies and gentlemen, they finally have ended the nightmare. They finally got a win. 14-9 was the final score, and Florida State's first win of the season against Cal. And this was a really dramatic win by FSU, man, because DJU was doing what he normally does, throwing interceptions early in this game in Cal territory. And outside of Tafili, you know, FSU didn't really have much going for them on offense until they woke up in the fourth quarter and DJU finally completed a deep pass downfield to Ja'Kai Douglas for a touchdown. You go up 14-9, but even then, Cal was still in the ball game. Like, on Cal's final offensive drive, they converted on 3rd and 14. They let their quarterback move the chains, and then they ended up converting on 4th and long a few plays right after that. And I'm saying to myself, oh God, like, don't tell me FSU is about to blow away their first win of the season because they're about to let Cal's quarterback just completely engineer a game-winning drive against them. But for the first time this season, Florida State's defense actually made a stand. They have 4 sacks alone in the fourth quarter of this game. Their pass rush was really good in this game, and they were the main reason why they were able to survive with their first win of the season. Now, moving forward, I still don't see Florida State winning too many games. You got to play Clemson in a couple of weeks. Clemson's about to absolutely murder you. Just completely murder you. And we're going to talk about Clemson later on in this show. But Florida State, you know, a win is a win at this point. And you really can't do anything if you're a Florida State fan, but just accept the fact that you're not going to be good this year. If you're complaining about how you won against Cal, you just got to stop. Okay? You got to stop complaining about DJU at QB because he's not going to get benched. Like, if you're still complaining about the performance that you're seeing out of Florida State, just stop watching the game because it's not going to change. This is who you are as a team. Y'all are fighting to even make it to a bowl game at this point because there's a strong chance that you may only win 4 or 5 games this year. But the fact that you were finally able to end your losing skid against Cal, you got to give a huge round of applause because you definitely could have lost this game and you easily could have been 0-4. And at that point, you know, we really would have been having some huge meltdowns down there in Tallahassee because I felt like, fam, you was the best team in Tally up until this game got played. And I believe if Florida State can get more consistency out of DJU and the vertical passing game, and this offense can open up a little bit, you can turn the tide on what's been a disastrous start to the season because this is the worst I've ever seen DJ Uiagalelei play. Like at Oregon State, he wasn't that good, but at least at Oregon State, he would hit a couple of deep balls here and there throughout the game. Like this year, it seems like he can't even buy a completion more than 20 yards downfield. So the fact that you were able to get such a big touchdown late in this game kind of should give you a little bit of a confidence boost. And if you're Florida State, you got to take more shots downfield. You got to be more aggressive with DJU. I get that you're scared to ask too much of DJU, but you're not going to win a lot of more games if you just keep playing things safe because your ground game still isn't consistent enough. Your offensive line still isn't that great. You might as well be a little bit more aggressive, especially when you don't really have anything to lose at this point. You have no chance of making it to the playoffs, so you might as well just open things up. And if DJU ends up going 0-8 for deep passes, then it just is what it is. But you got to be more aggressive offensively. You can't just be asking DJU to be throwing these short passes 5-10 yards down the field because that's not the kind of quarterback that DJU is. DJ Uiagalelei, what he is that he has a great arm, and you got to let him show why he has such a big arm. Let him sling that rock a few more times, man. Your receiving core isn't that bad. You don't have a lot of depth at receiver, but you do have enough with guys like Ja'Kai Douglas where you can get a couple of big plays here and there as long as you continue to stick with it. With FSU, it's like if DJU misses a couple of deep passes, they just go away from it like he's not Jordan Travis. And most of you Seminoles fans knew what you were getting out of DJU coming into this season, but you weren't expecting him to be this bad because you thought the overall makeup of your team would be better. But with how he played tonight against Cal, he showed you that, okay, this dude actually can hit an accurate deep ball every once in a while, so open up the playbook a little bit more. DJU is a large reason why Florida State has been bad this year, but the play calling hasn't really done him no favors. You're not playing to DJ Uiagalelei's strengths. Tonight was kind of the first time late in this game in the fourth quarter when you actually trusted him to throw the football downfield. Like, the thing with DJU is that even if he isn't the most accurate passer, he has spotty decision making, there's only 1 or 2 things that's going to happen when you ask him to take deep shots downfield. Either one, he's going to throw an incompletion. He's going to sell the ball 20 yards past the intended receiver, which means that not only is the wideout going to have a chance to not catch it, but neither is the defensive back. And 2, either he has a chance of being able to hit a couple of them every once in a while. So open up the playbook a little bit more. This isn't going to be a good season for Florida State. You just have to accept that. But at least you can show that you got some pride and that this team hasn't quit on Mike Norvell. If this team quits on Mike Norvell, then I believe that would be a bigger conversation to be having. But even though you beat Cal, I know Cal isn't necessarily a powerhouse. They were undefeated, and at this point, you'll just take the win no matter how ugly it is. Style points doesn't even matter anymore if you're Florida State. Just find ways to win games. No matter how ugly they get, if you can win any game at this point, it's a miracle. Be satisfied with it. There's no point in complaining about it when this team is just bad. But shout out to Florida State. They finally got a win in the W column. Shout out to Terrence Jackson. He says, you were delusional about Tennessee OU trying to cover your bad prediction. What's my bad prediction? I said Oklahoma was going to win at home, and I said that Tennessee wasn't going to blow out Oklahoma. Whoa, what was so bad about my prediction? Like, I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee lost, and I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee won. You got a good team. You feel me? It's just that you didn't annihilate Oklahoma like how a lot of y'all Vols fans said y'all were leading up to this game, but I admit that I'm wrong, and I'll eat it. You feel me? I picked y'all to lose this game and y'all won. But y'all didn't dominate Oklahoma like how y'all said y'all would. But it's like at this point, what more do you want me to say? I'm wrong. I'm going to eat it. Like, you know what I'm about to do? When I get paid in a few days, I'm going to buy me a clown mask. And every time I make a terrible prediction that's extremely wrong and I double down on it throughout the week, if I end up being wrong, I'm going to put that clown mask on. I'm going to have some clown music that gets played. And you feel me? Maybe y'all be satisfied if I just wear a clown mask. But I can't say it. I can't admit how many times that I accepted I was wrong. I made a bad prediction. Y'all was right. You got it. Y'all got it. Like, look, man, like that. I don't know what more you want me to say. But I don't believe that Tennessee took their foot off the pedal. Like, you mean to tell me that in the first and second quarter, like, Tennessee was easing up? Because, no, they weren't. Like, Oklahoma's defense was doing their thing. Why can't y'all Tennessee fans just give credit to Brent Venables' defense? Like, the defense looked good. For as bad as what OU's offense was, like, they were keeping them in the game. It was one point when Tennessee was turning the football over, and then Oklahoma will give it right back to them, and then vice versa. It wasn't a great performance out of Tennessee offensively. It just wasn't. Because you went up against a really good defense. But you won this game. You won it by 10. You covered the -7 spread. Like, I lost money today. Would that make you Vols fans happy? I lost money today. Like, what more do y'all want me to say? I was wrong. I eat it. Y'all was right. But y'all didn't blow them out neither. So I kind of was wrong and right at the same time. I'm just saying, I told y'all that Oklahoma defense was not to be messed with. I want to talk about a couple of more things before I get up on out of here. And then I'm going to open up the phone lines. Well, I'm going to open up the phone lines. I got to open up the phone lines because I really want to hear what a lot of y'all got to say. So for all you Vols fans, like, we about to open up them phone lines in just like 10 more minutes. I promise. I'm going to let y'all get whatever y'all got to say off your chest to me. You feel me? Florida beat Mississippi State today. It was by a pretty considerable margin that they won this game, but there still is a lot of concerns to take away from their dominant win. And the biggest one that I have is that Florida's defense can't stop a fly. They can't stop a cockroach. They can't do anything right. Their run defense, once again, they gave up 200 plus. This is now 2 straight games where we've seen Florida's defense get gashed in the run game. They gave up 300 yards on the ground to Texas A&M. They gave up over 200 to a Mississippi State team that got blown out a week ago by a team from the MAC named Toledo. Their defensive line rarely gets any penetration in the backfield. You don't see a lot of tackles for loss. You don't see a lot of havoc plays. They got poor tackling. Their pad level isn't really that good neither. In the pass defense, listen, when you play Florida, anytime you get into a third down situation and you got a receiver that drops the pass or you just have something that goes wrong on third down, don't get too hard on yourself because Florida's going to do everything they can to make sure that you can stay on the field because either they're allowing a team to get a third down conversion or they're helping them out by having a pass interference penalty or unsportsmanlike conduct penalty or a personal foul. Like Florida's defense just cannot stop kicking themselves in the foot. Against Mississippi State, they had several opportunities to just outright just dominate and crush this team, but they were unable to do it because, once again, you saw an undisciplined football team. They got no pass rush. What happened to Joey Slackman, the transfer that you got from the University of Penn, from the Ivy League, who was Ivy League Player of the Year last year? I haven't heard this man's name at all this season. It's like, for the amount of talent that Florida has on defense, they give out really minuscule results. Jason Marshall, a few years back, was projected to be a first-round pick in the NFL. At this point, he looks like a day 3 draft pick at this point. You got no ball hawks in the secondary. You can't force turnovers. You can't force interceptions because you don't have the ability to get pressure on the quarterback. And then when you blitz, you're still unable to get home on the quarterback. And it's going to be really ugly for Florida when they got to play Tennessee in the next couple of weeks, and when they got to play UCF, because this defense can't be trusted to stop a soul. And I'm wondering why Billy Napier, with his job on the line, has yet to fire Austin Armstrong. We saw Lincoln Riley cut ties with Alex Grinch before the season ended. You might as well cut ties with Austin Armstrong before he allows you to get fired, because Florida showed that their offense can be competent depending on who they play. But it doesn't matter how good your offense is if every game that you play is a shootout. With the talent that they have, you expect better performance out of the defense. But the reason why their defense continues to underachieve is because they are poorly coached. They're not disciplined. Guys are missing tackles. They're not wrapping up. Like, I'm really flabbergasted at how bad Florida's defense has been the last 4 to 5 years. It's like everybody hated Todd Grantham. And you go from him to Austin Armstrong, who may be even worse than what Todd Grantham was. When you play Florida, you're going to have the ability on offense to do whatever you want to. When you play against Florida defensively, it pretty much is a bona fide scrimmage because their defense is going to allow you to test out trick plays, shout out your backup quarterback. Like, what's even more embarrassing is how anytime Florida plays a backup quarterback, they make them look good. You play Texas A&M's backup quarterback, and he plays so well against you that he now is the full-time starter. And with how well Mississippi State's backup quarterback played, he might as well be the starter for the rest of the season. Like, Toledo's defense just shut down Mississippi State. But you couldn't do that. You know, like, yeah, a win's a win. You're 2-2 right now, but that's probably the last easy win that you have on your schedule until you play Florida State in the next couple of months. You know, I can't wait for you to play Tennessee, because Tennessee, they just might put 100 on your defense. It's going to be really ugly. I can't wait to see you play UCF. And I'm not rooting for Florida to fail, but I'm just really shocked at how bad this team just continues to be under Billy Napier, and we don't really see no adjustments. There's always a blown coverage every single week, missed assignments, bad tackling. It's the same bad product that we've seen under Sunbelt Billy for the last couple of years that he's been the head coach of this program. And eventually you just wonder, when are you going to see some change? So Tired says, issue C, issues A and B are going to open you up some negative feedback. Honestly, I was worried about my money line on this game as a Vols fan. It's nice to be here. I appreciate you, So Tired. I appreciate you. And make sure you go do what he says. He says, laugh my ass off. Y'all subscribe, turn on the notifications, and hit that like button. Despite his take on Tennessee and OU, he speaks the truth. I appreciate that, So Tired. I appreciate that. And, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, Tennessee is going to be a good team this year. Once again, I got y'all going 10-2, making it into the playoffs. The big issue is that you are hurting hope. We are tired of hearing that we suck. Hey, I didn't say you was going to suck, though. I just said you wasn't going to blow out Oklahoma. Like, go watch my SEC record predictions. I got you going 10-2, finishing in 3rd, 4th place in the conference. And with how Georgia looks, they could be a 9-3 team for all we know. Now, before I open up the phone lines, I got one more thing I want to talk about. And I just got to talk about this because it's been on my mind for a while, but Guys, I think that we rolled off Clemson way too soon. I know that they got absolutely murdered week 1 in Mercedes-Benz Stadium by Georgia, but ever since then, they've been making statements. I was watching them play NC State, and they were up 40 points at halftime. And when Dabo Swinney was interviewed before the halftime break, you know, the reporter asked him, like, when are you going to play the backups? And Dabo Swinney said, I don't know if we're going to bench any of the starters yet. Like, we're trying to play up to a standard. I think what Dabo Swinney was trying to say is that, you know, everybody's trying to write us off. They're saying that we're no longer an elite program anymore. We don't have a shot at winning the ACC. We're on the decline. And he's trying to make a statement every week Clemson plays. And when you look at the remainder of their schedule, I don't see how they don't end up winning out the rest of their games and walking into the ACC title game against Miami with only 1 loss. Because, I mean, this team just looks complete on offense and defense. We know that Clemson has always been stout defensively. They got a good pass rush. They got a really good secondary. They're disciplined. They are really good when it comes to tackling, wrapping up. They do a lot of havoc on the line of scrimmage on defense. But Garrett Riley has started to take Clemson's offense to a level that we haven't seen since the Trevor Lawrence and the Deshaun Watson years. Cade Klubnik is playing some of the best football that he's played throughout his career. I've never seen him play this well. He's been dynamic throwing the football, and he's been dynamic with the ball in his hands on the ground. And we know that Clemson has some really good running backs. I love Phil Maffa, but the receivers are really good. They got a lot of talent. They got a lot of depth at that position now. And Clemson normally has been known as one of the better programs in college football for producing elite wide receivers. And this is the best receiving core that they've had in a while. And with how easy their schedule is from this point out, you know, your toughest games are against Florida State on the road. You play Louisville. You can never count out Jeff Brom, the upset master. VT Pitt could be a little bit of some tough games for you in South Carolina, but Clemson probably is going to win all of their games by 10 or more points because this team really looks like they're elite. And I know that the ACC is down. They're not really that good, but you love to see Clemson dominating in games like this because last year the offense was not as good as what it's been this year, going up against pretty much some of the same teams. And I believe that Clemson football is kind of back, people. I'm not going to say that they're fully back unless they win the ACC championship against my beloved Hurricanes, which I hope doesn't happen. But with how scary Clemson has looked, as a Miami fan, I'm a little concerned. Because a few weeks ago, after you lost to Georgia, I thought that it was Miami and everybody else in the ACC. But Clemson's making it really interesting now. And maybe Louisville can come in and maybe shake some things up. But Clemson right now, they're dragging everybody. And they're trying to make a statement. When Clemson plays you, just know that they're trying to embarrass your favorite team. And they're trying to make sure that the game is over by halftime. They're trying to leave no doubts. And I've been winning so much money betting on Clemson over these last couple of weeks that it's kind of like a free money glitch at this point. And I got no choice but to give Dabo Swinney praise. I know that he ended up not taking callers from viewers on his weekly radio show, which kind of disappointed me because this would be the perfect opportunity to open those phone lines up and say, yeah, so how about all the fans that are saying that we need to get more active in the transfer portal? We annihilated Appalachian State. We annihilated NC State, a program that a lot of people coming into this year thought was going to be a dark horse team in the ACC. But Clemson just completely slaughtered them at halftime. Like, Clemson at this point, they're playing you, and they're only playing their starters for 2 quarters, and they come out at halftime and they just kick their feet up, and they're just trying to run the rest of the clock. Like, Clemson is showing no mercy for any team they play for the remainder of this season based off how bad they got beaten by Georgia in week 1. Like, this is a resurgence that we've seen, or this is a resurgent year that we are seeing out of Clemson football, and I would not be surprised if they end up winning the ACC, making it to the college football playoffs, and they may win a playoff game or two. That's how good they look. And although the ACC is bad, let's not act like this conference hasn't been bad for the last decade or so. You know, even when Clemson was winning national titles, people always criticized them for not having a strong strength of schedule. Well, this year, if you play Miami, I ain't gonna lie, like, I kind of like your chances to beat my Hurricanes, just keeping it a stack, because I trust Clemson more in the ACC championship game than I do trust Mario Cristobal, because Dabo Swinney has been here before. Mario Cristobal, can't really say he has. So, Clemson, you might want to redo some of your playoff predictions, some of your playoff projections, because they definitely look like a threat to win the ACC. It doesn't look like Miami's just going to cakewalk their way through this thing anymore. Clemson is going to make things interesting. So this is it for this episode of JT Sports Live. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify if you enjoy. And now we're about to open up the phone lines, because I know there's a lot of you Tennessee fans that have a lot that you want to get off your chest, and I'm about to let you do so. Let me just get set up real quick. I'm going to put the number in the chat shortly once I get set up. Okay. All right, the phone number's on the screen, 904-834-5927 for those of you guys who want to call in. I know there's a lot that you Vols fans want to get off your chest, and even if you're not a Vols fan, if you just trying to talk a little college football, you can call in. I'm going to also put the number in the chat on both X and YouTube so you guys can copy and paste it. Man, BYU is absolutely smoking Kansas State right now. Avery Johnson looks so garbage, so garbage. This dude was so overhyped going into this year. Oh, man, we got somebody already calling in.
Call from
Key from Pays and Plays podcast.
Yo, what's going on?
My guy, JT, what's up, fam? You good?
Man, I'm doing good, man. These Tennessee Vols fans, they coming at my neck, but we standing strong. We standing strong.
You know, it's crazy, man, because I didn't bet that game, but my thoughts was how you were thinking. I thought it was going to be real close with Oklahoma, but I think the under, like, it was like 57.5. I just couldn't see Tennessee dropping a 50 burger like they were on people. I was shocked that they even scored 25.
It's like I knew their offense was legit because of the scheme they run, how good of a mastermind Josh Heupel is on that side of the ball. And I do love Nico Iamaleava, and they do have one of the best receiving corps in college football, and their defense is legit. But it's like at the same time, like, you know, the way that Oklahoma has been talking going into this season, throughout the offseason, like, they truly believe that Brent Venables now has all of the players to run the style of defense that he did at Clemson. And you saw it tonight, like, they were aggressive. They were getting after Nico. He had a couple of strip sack fumbles, but the offense just was completely a shit show, bro. Like, Jackson Arnold got benched. And then, like, you had this true freshman who ended up scoring late. Like, the dude damn near got broken half. The dude had to do a somersault to score.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Trey Arnold, man. I don't know, man. I don't think that guy's it. I don't think so, bro. He kind of reminds me of Gardner Minshew, and I don't mean it in a real major disrespect for him, but like Gardner Minshew, like his playing sometimes is always very radical. Like, he's just all over the place, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, like, and that's been the thing with Jackson Arnold. Even when I watched him in the Alamo Bowl last year against Arizona, he started that game out cold, had a couple of turnovers, and then, like, in the second, third quarter, he settled in, and then the fourth quarter, he reverted back to what we saw in the first quarter. So, at this point, you got to keep sticking with the true freshman that they had, because he cost the Oklahoma this game low key. As good as what Tennessee's defense is, like he gifted them a couple of early Christmas presents. He was like Santa, and it was like Christmas in September for Tennessee with how bad Jackson Arnold was playing.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, if you don't mind, I gotta tell you, the ultimate bad beat happened today, my guy. And you know how I am with these bets, bro. I'll be spot on. Georgia Tech, 10.5, down by 5, kick a field goal, block field goal, and got scooped for a 57-yard touchdown by Louisville. Blew the whole cover, bro. They lost by 12. Oh my God.
You had Louisville -10 against GT.
I had GT 10.5 plus 10.5.
Yeah,
They were
too,
down
bro.
by 3 all game, bro. And the thing about college sports that I had to realize is like there's games where you're in it all game and then you just shit the bed and it's just be like the last second. Like I also had Coastal Carolina today. Now they got blew out by Virginia, but I can accept a blowout, right? Because you already know it's over. But come on, don't tease me with that, bro. Georgia Tech was down by 3 all game.
Hey man,
Haynes King showed up. Oh my God.
Hey man, you was right about Virginia Tech, bro. Those boys are so overrated, dog. Like they came back. When they came back, I was like, oh, it's not my parlay still. And they still lost, bro. Like Virginia Tech, garbage, dog. Straight garbage. Another team that blew my parlay was Notre Dame, man. Because it's like, how you blow out the team last week and then you come out and you struggle in the first half against Miami of Ohio, bro. Like the only player I can remember from them is Big Ben.
Yeah, so Miami actually, well, you know, I'm going to know about MAC action. That's my territory. They're actually not bad. They won the MAC last year, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think Toledo won it last year, but they played in the championship game. Miami, Ohio is a competitive team in the MAC, so that's why it's not shocking, like how you think Toledo beat Mississippi State, because another thing to remind you, Toledo almost beat Illinois last season. So and they got a first-round pick player in Mitchell, who got drafted by Philly. So there is talent in that Toledo team. So the MAC, it's crazy, man, because the MAC has always been competitive. But enough with the MAC. What about the Sun Belt? James Madison dropping a 70 burger or North Carolina? I mean, these Sun Belt teams are usually competitive.
What's crazy is I told my homeboy I was close to taking James Madison. And I told him not to take UNC. He took him anyway. And I told him the reason why I wanted James Madison is because they still got a really good team. Not all their team left last year with the coach that went to Indiana. But at the same time, you know, North Carolina, they got no quarterback. They done tried out like 3 different quarterbacks ever since Max Johnson got injured. And their defense, just under Mac Brown, has always been non-existent.
Yeah, that team, yeah. So the thing about North Carolina, you are right. Defense is awful. I do think he'll figure it out. Will it be this season? Probably not. But he's going to be able to stay because, for one, this is probably the best coach North Carolina has ever had in their history. And what Matt Brown can say is, hey, I just had 3 North Carolina quarterbacks in the NFL, right? We know Sam Howell. You know, Mitchell Trubisky, of course, it didn't work out, and now you got Drake May. So you can sit there and say, look, I got 3 quarterbacks that are in the NFL, which North Carolina has never had. I think the last quarterback they had, I think his name was Ronald Curry, and they switched him from quarterback to receiver. He played for the Raiders for a few years. So that's the last time I remember them actually having a quarterback for North Carolina. So Mac Brown would figure it out. It's just that when you lose Drake May, they weren't really prepared to deal with. I mean, I know they got Max Johnson, but they weren't prepared to deal with a guy that can be a freshman or a sophomore that can sit, or they didn't get a highly talented one. And it shows, bro, because this team should be Mac Brown, as we know as a coach. This team should be serious, man.
Bro, people have been trying to say that UNC has been like this rising giant ever since they first hired Mike Brown, and it's just the same thing year after year. It's like people always think about, because North Carolina, people talk about this school the same way they talk about Arizona State, like they're a sleeping giant, because if you get the right coach in there who can maximize the proximity to recruiting that they have, you know, like, and they got pretty good facilities, they could be a potential playoff team, but we've yet to see it under Mac Brown. I just at this point feel like the game has passed Mac Brown by. Like, he's a coach that can get you to 7, 8 wins, maybe have the occasional 9-win season, but he can never just get the defense right. He can, and I feel like the quarterback position was always going to be a huge question mark. Even if Max Johnson stayed healthy, he wasn't even that good before he got injured.
Yeah, what was he? LSU and A&M. Yeah,
LSU, A&M.
You see my boys though. We did good today, Michigan. I mean, 32 passing yards. You know how I look at that. I don't think that's a recipe to last, but honestly,
man, I don't know, dog. Like, y'all may be able to do that against every team y'all play. Maybe not Ohio State, but man, one thing about Michigan, bro, y'all are dedicated to the ground game. And the only team I can remember having a similar dedication to y'all on the ground was like those Paul Chris Wisconsin teams when they had Jonathan Taylor and Melvin Gordon. That's probably the closest it gets. But bro, I've never seen a team have a 2-minute offense centered around the run game. Like, y'all are psychos down there.
Oh man, you about to make me feel old again, man. So Lloyd Carr, man. There's a reason that, yeah, we've always had that though. I mean, as far as the traditional coaching, you're gonna have to exclude Rich Rod and Brady Hope, but like Lloyd Carr, I mean, think about it, right? The offensive line, that's all we are. Jake Long. We had Chris Perry, who was a first-round pick running back. Didn't do good in the NFL with Cincinnati, but hey, he got in the first round reason under Lloyd Carr. Look what we did with Mike Hart. I mean, so it's all been the traditional thing with us, man. And listen, I mean, I think we can be competitive against Ohio State. I want to say it out loud. If you guys can bet this spread, I think last time I saw it, early look ahead, 16.5. Listen, Sean Moore did coach against Ryan Day last season, which you could argue better talent last season. I mean, he did a whole entire game plan by himself against Ohio State. So I'm not saying they'll win this game, but they can keep it close. It is a rivalry. And I mean, 9 games this year, I think I did say 8 games would be the most expectation.
Call from.
So tired.
I mean, Oregon, they do play Oregon at home, and Oregon has been very, very suspect. So it is possible that they could win.
Heck yeah. But all right, my dude, I'm going to have to let you go. We got somebody else calling in. I appreciate you as always, my guy.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good day. Let's be safe. NFL, let's get it, man. Be smooth, bro.
So, Tyler, call back in, man. I try to put you on hold. I'm still trying to get it where it's like when somebody on the line, it puts you on hold. But go ahead, call back in because you did try to call back in. Man, I'm eager to see what Soul Tyre got to say, man. I'm eager to see what he got to say, man. Soul Tyre, call back in, man. We're going to be taking calls for the next 20 minutes. I always tell y'all, like, I'll stop taking calls, like, once we end up having, like, a minute or two when nobody ends up calling in. Can't go past 2 a.m., though. I do got to edit these videos.
Call from.
So tired.
Yo, what's going on? How we living? How we feeling?
Hey, we're living, we're feeling an upright little Finley, you know what I'm saying, brother?
Heck yeah. So, man, you're obviously a Tennessee fan, so how you feeling about this 25-15 win against Oklahoma?
Man, I'm going to give you a different perspective, all right? So, obviously, Tennessee did not have that offensive showing that they should have, right? I think defensively, they played a decent game. But from my perspective, and this is my perspective and my perspective on, I kind of expected OU to come in with a little more, like, heavy hitting, right? Like, I expected it to be a little bit closer of a game. Almost like, and part of it's because of the hype, right? a lot of people are like, oh man, this is going to be the greatest game of the season. It's OU, first game in the SEC. You got Tennessee. This is a hot team. But I'm going to be honest, man, like I didn't feel like OU kind of led up to the expectation I had for them offensively. Even defensively, like they had some good stops. They had some solid stops. But I kind of attribute that to Tennessee having a bad game offensively.
I agree with like their offense not being as good as expected. I expected more too, but Jackson Arnold, bro, he just looked like a complete whiff. This was somebody who was in the same recruiting class as Nico Imaviava, by the way. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of high school. And, you know, I just was really disappointed with how he played. Like, you know, he played really bad. But defensively, like, I felt Oklahoma played probably one of the better games that we're going to see them play this year because let's be honest, like their defense came to play with all those turnovers that they had, the favorable field position that you guys got from them, and they only held y'all to like a field goal off those. You feel me? If this is probably like any other team, y'all probably hanging 40, 50 on them. Now, y'all did have some injuries on the offensive line. Like I forgot that transfer that y'all got from LSU, he wasn't playing in this game. You lost another offensive tackle, so Brent Venables really started getting really aggressive. But a lot of you Tennessee fans were saying that a lot of the stuff y'all were going to be doing in this game, Oklahoma was going to be prepared for because y'all didn't reveal anything in y'all first 3 games. And I felt like Brent Venables and Oklahoma kind of had the same thing. It kind of felt like Brent Venables was kind of preparing for this game because like they were really aggressive. I kind of saw a little bit of that defense that I saw for Clemson. And, you know, for them to only hold y'all to 25 points, despite all the miscues and their offense pretty much doing nothing up until like the last 8 minutes of this game, like, you got to give them props because it's not easy to hold the offense like Tennessee to 25 when you think about how fast y'all call the plays and y'all snap the football and the amount of plays that y'all put them on the field for. You feel me? If this is probably any other defense, it's a 30-point loss.
No, I mean, I see your point, but I kind of attribute it to more of Tennessee's, like, I mean, it's hard to say a piss poor performance when we won, right? Like a win, a dub's a dub, but I don't think that we saw Tennessee's like true offense tonight. Nico got rocked. There's a play where I think it was third, fourth quarter where he rolls out to the outside. They show him on the bench, and he keeps like blinking his eyes. I think he got smoked pretty good there. But before that, there's a lot of miscommunication on the line, a lot of miscommunication with the receivers, and I just didn't see Tennessee's true offense tonight. But with that, I'm not going to say it's a bad game played by OU. I think they had a good game. But I also I expected more offensively, especially. And granted, I'm kind of an old head. Like, I remember the 03, 04 seasons. Like, that always sticks in my mind. Anytime I hear OU, like, it's hard to forget that. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think this is like I think OU is going to come out next week and the following weeks, and it's just going to continue to dog walk teams that they come against. And I'm not saying that I think that you like think OU or Tennessee sucks or that they are a bad team, but I don't think tonight was a good representation of what Tennessee's offense can and should be. I do think, and part of this is because I lost some money on a parlay, but I'm a little pissed off that we didn't get a field goal there on the last drive. But part of that is because they were outcoached. I was outcoached. OU was outcoached. And you have to attribute the win to the win, right? And I think that credit's due where it's credit's due. I don't remember the guy's name that came in, the quarterback for OU, but he had a solid game. I was very impressed with his wheels. I was very impressed with his passing ability. I hope that guy starts here, if not
Michael
this
Hawkins.
season, next season. Yes. I hope he gets a starting position sooner rather than later for OU. and I hope he stays with OU because that is your foundation for a great offense. I think you all have a solid defense. I'm talking like OU, like you're an OU fan. Not really sure if you are. But for OU fans out there that are listening right now, I hope that guy starts sooner rather than later. I hope he continues to play like he did tonight because I was pretty dang impressed without cursing on the stream here. Pretty dang impressed with the showing that he put out while he was in. But I may be wrong. Starting quarterback may turn around and drop some absolute dimes here in the next few weeks. But regardless, my point is, long story short, that the point I'm trying to make is that I really felt like the the Tennessee offense that we saw was not the Tennessee offense that we're going to continue to see in the following weeks. And I don't know that OU is going to be able to play at the same level defensively and expect the same outcome.
Yeah,
I hope they do, you know.
Well, it's like one thing they did have is the fact that, I do believe with y'all not playing a team of this talent, it kind of took y'all by surprise. Well, not really surprised, but it was a little bit of adjustment because let's be honest.
No, I'll straight up say it. It took me by surprise. I'll be honest with you. It took me by surprise. Like in the fact that in only one way, when I wanted you all offensively to come out and really just put on a show. Defensively, as a Vols fan, I wanted that show to be reciprocated. I wanted a lot better coverage from the secondary. I wanted, D-line, what I felt like did an okay job. And okay is not fair. I thought they did a good job, but I got ADD, so I lost my train of thought. But no, I don't know, man. I hope that Tennessee's offense can pick it up, and I hope that the defense can keep doing what they're doing.
Look, the next 2 weeks, you playing Arkansas. You should y'all should handle them. Y'all playing Sunbelt Billy at home. Y'all definitely gonna handle them. But really, to me, y'all got a good win. Oklahoma, I don't think they're going to be a pushover. They may not be as good as what I thought they would be due to how their offense looked tonight. And it's going to be hard. You see, they played on the road. Well, y'all played on the road. They got the home field advantage. And they do play Texas at home too. But when they go on the road to play Ole Miss or Missouri, it could be a rude awakening for them. Hell, they could get a rude awakening next week against Auburn. But for y'all, I wanted to see
but can we all agree
that
all of us from the SEC are tired of Mizzou coming out and being as good as they are? They should not be this good. It's Mizzou.
Yeah, they're over, bro. I agree, bro. Missouri and Florida State were the two teams I felt were the most overrated, and not because I'm hating on them, but too often when you got programs like Mizzou, FSU that have good seasons, when they come out of nowhere, they win 10, 11 games. People think that would translate to consistent success and they can't maintain that level, but they overlook that. They don't recruit at the level required to sustain having a 10, 11 win season. And Mizzou almost got exposed today. They almost lost to Vanderbilt. It took them 2 OTs, and their schedule is fairly easy, which is why a lot of people got them going into the SEC championship. But they got their time coming when they play y'all. I feel like for y'all, I just wanted to see y'all win this game to show that y'all were legit. Because now, we know that y'all are a playoff team, but now the next question is, are y'all an elite team? And you get to play Alabama at home. You feel me? The last time you played Alabama at home with Bryce Young, you won that game with Hendon Hooker. And you got to play Georgia on the road. This is probably the most vulnerable that we've seen Georgia because y'all defensive line should do what Georgia's done to y'all these last couple of years due to the amount of depth that y'all have and the talent that y'all have and the injuries and, the problems that they have up front that got exposed by Kentucky last week. Now, Georgia could play their A game because they are playing at home, but I believe that y'all could be good enough to win the SEC this year. The SEC is the toughest that it's ever been this year. It's about 5-6 teams that could be playoff caliber.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, the SEC for sure, and just on college football as a whole this year seems a little bit like kind of volatile. You got a lot of teams that, I mean, from my perspective, that I'm doing money line bets or whatever the case may be. You're getting a lot of surprises across the board. Maybe it's because it's early in the season. Offenses are getting their actual, practice and games are two totally different things. So we're kind of early in the season, so everybody's getting the kinks out.
How big of a factor do you think the transfer portal is in this also?
What's that?
How big of a factor do you think the transfer portal is to the amount of disparity that we're starting to see?
I mean, the transfer portal is always I hate to say a threat to college teams, but it kind of is. When you have players like Arch, I hate to jump on the hype train here, but Arch Manning has wheels. He threw 3 touchdowns last week. He had his first start this week. You see guys like that, and it's like, why wouldn't an NFL team pick them up? There's a lot of factors that go into play. I don't know if the transfer portal is the main issue there, but I think transferring from one college to the other, like we talked about, I think I made a comment on your video or on your live stream about the OU. I keep forgetting his name, but the quarterback that came in from the starter, came off the bench, had a great game. Like that guy, from a transfer aspect or standpoint, you don't want to have a guy come in that's sitting on the bench, have a great showing, and then transfer to a school that he potentially gets more playing time at, more visibility, and then you throw the draft into that, and so you have the draft and the transfer portal that kind of compound on top of each other. I don't know, a little bit out of my element, but I feel like the transfer portal itself, like just from knowing what I know about college ball, anytime you have any individual that's excelling above whether it's D1, D2, or whatever the case may be, anytime you have an individual that's excelling above, level of play above where they should be or what's expected, the transfer portal always becomes a threat to your team and always becomes a threat to the foundation that you're trying to build as a coach. Like, I couldn't imagine being a coach at the collegiate level and then having a guy sit on the bench come out and throw touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, or rushing yard after rushing yard, or receiving yard after receiving yard, and then within the next year turn around and go to another school. Like, that would be almost heartbreaking almost to be like, oh my gosh, this is our chance, and then they go somewhere else.
Absolutely, man. But man, it's some more people on the line trying to get in, so I'm gonna let you go. But Joe, I appreciate you for subscribing. I appreciate you for calling in, and we probably gonna talk some more. I know you probably gonna call in some more, because this won't be the first time we talk about Tennessee, man. I'm gonna be talking about them next week against Arkansas, and they play Alabama in a couple of weeks too. So I appreciate you for calling in, my dude.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime anybody plays Alabama, it's always a sweat, right? But I appreciate you giving us out the opportunity. I appreciate people are calling in. You all need to you need to subscribe, turn those notifications on, make it happen. Let's blow JT up. He's a good guy. He, despite how he feels about OU versus Tennessee, he's a solid dude.
I appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your night.
You as well, brother. Take care.
Man, shout out to our guy, man, for calling in. I don't know how long he's been subscribed to the channel. I don't know if he's a new subscriber or if he's an OG subscriber, but shout out to our dude, So Tired, man. I'm going to take 2 more phone calls. I'm going to be on here for about 15 more minutes. I can't be on here past 2:15, so once we get to 2:15, we're going to cut it off, because I got to be able to get up early enough to watch these NFL games. Because my problem is with watching these NFL games is sometimes I'll fall asleep during some of the 4 o'clock games, And the reason for it is because I'm probably only getting like 3-4 hours of sleep. Like last night, I ain't even go to sleep at night. I went to sleep at like 8 o'clock in the morning, woke up at 12:15. So I'm only operating on 4 hours of sleep. So it's like I do want to try to get in bed by like 4 or 5 o'clock so I can have a little bit more energy to do this tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to take a few more phone calls for those of you guys who want to call in. I know a few of you guys just tried to call in. The number's on the screen. 904-834-5927. And if we don't get no more phone calls within the next minute or so, then we'll just end up wrapping up this live stream. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Like our dude So Tired said, we're not just a YouTube channel, we are a podcast. You'll find this episode once it concludes on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find the JT Sports Podcast. You can send your questions on Instagram at JT Sports _ on Instagram and at JT Sports _ on X. And holy cow, man, like BYU just absolutely slaughtered Kansas State. Like some of y'all think I'm capping when I picked Colorado to win the Big 12. Like y'all thought I was trolling, but I'm really dead honest, bro. I really believe that Coach Prime and those boys can get it done. And just with how they beat Baylor tonight, just absolute insanity. And when you got two of the best players in college football and a weak conference like the Big 12, like it's hard to see you not winning too many games. Like I can't see them only winning 4 games. Hell, they're 3-1 right now. So they're already on pace to win more games what they did last year. And I got to see who they play next week. Let me see who they play next week. So next week they play playing UCF on the road in the bounce house. That's going to be the fun one. Then they get a bye week October 5th. And then they get to play Kansas State. They got Arizona. I don't think they're good anymore. Brent Brennan, I don't think dude's a good coach. I saw them get absolutely cooked against Kansas State on Friday night last week. Cincinnati, I don't really know what to make of Cincinnati. They got Satterfield, that's their head coach. I don't know. Maybe they could challenge them. Texas Tech is always an interesting team. Kansas, they're not good anymore. Utah, like, yeah, they definitely could lose to Utah. Oklahoma State, I can see them beating them just because they got a little bit more firepower, but I don't really think there's too many games Colorado doesn't have a chance to win. But it looks like nobody else is calling in. So I guess we'll just end it here. I appreciate everybody that called in tonight, that tuned in. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications if you haven't already. And please give the podcast a 5-star review, man. We're trying to get to 100 5-star reviews. And the reason why I need you guys to rate the podcast and why I promote it so heavy is because I'm about to end up sending a pitch to ESPN within the next couple of weeks to see if they are interested in picking up my podcast. I've also been reaching out to some people that work for The Volume with Colin Coward. It's just that, you know, like I would love to do this by myself, but I do need a little bit of help. You feel me? So just go ahead. If you support the podcast, support me in the grind, just go ahead, give us a 5-star review, JT Sports Podcast in the description down below. Or you can just type it in on Apple or Spotify, whichever podcasting platform you use, it will pop up. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Shout out to my guy Black Wolf. Shout out to Eddie Pudo. Shout out to Emma Sparks. He says, let's go Steelers. Shout out to Steelers. Seption Con. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in on X, YouTube. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And I'll see you guys shortly with another